You've been lied to. They told you kindness is strength. They said, if you're just good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, people will value you. They'll respect you. They'll treat you right. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Your goodness is being used against you. Every time you say yes when you want to say no. Every time you put someone else's needs before your own, hoping they'll notice, hoping they'll appreciate it. Every single time you bend over backwards for people who wouldn't take a single step for you. You're not building respect. You're teaching people how to use you. And the worst part, you probably don't even realize it's happening. See, we grow up with this fairy tale version of the world. Be nice. Be humble. Turn the other cheek. Good things come to those who wait. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Beautiful ideas, really. But here's what they don't tell you in those motivational quotes. The world doesn't work that way. Not in your relationships, not in your career, not in any arena where power and influence matter. And whether you like it or not, power and influence matter everywhere. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago. And today, we're going to break down why his lessons are more relevant now than ever. This isn't about becoming a bad person. It's about stopping bad people from walking all over you. So if you've ever felt taken advantage of, overlooked, or disrespected despite doing everything right, this video is for you. Let's talk about power. Let's talk about boundaries. And let's talk about why kindness without strength is just another word for weakness. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose powerful kindness. Now, let's get into it. Number 1, the kindness trap. Let's start with something uncomfortable. When you're endlessly nice, people don't remember your value. They remember your availability. Think about the people in your life right now, the ones you drop everything for, the ones you help without hesitation, the ones who know you'll always be there. Now ask yourself this: would they do the same for you? If you hesitated before answering, you already know the truth. Here's what happens when you're too kind, too available, too understanding. You become the person people call when they need something. Not the person they respect, not the person they admire, the person they use. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I'm saying it because it's real. Think about it. The person who always says yes, the person who never pushes back, the person who's always there at 3 in the morning, ready to listen, ready to help, ready to sacrifice their own time and energy. Are they admired? Are they celebrated? Are they treated with the respect they deserve? Not. They're used. Because people don't value what comes easy. They value what has a cost. They respect what has boundaries. When you're available 24/7, your time becomes worthless. When you never say no, your yes means nothing. When you give without expecting anything in return, people stop feeling grateful. They start feeling entitled. You become background noise, a resource to be tapped, a safety net they know will always be there. And the saddest part? You probably convinced yourself this is what love looks like. This is what friendship requires. This is what good people do. But let me ask you something. If being endlessly giving made people respect you, wouldn't you be swimming in respect by now? If always being available made people value you, wouldn't you feel valued? The fact that you're watching this video tells me you don't, and that brings us to the second truth. You can be the most honest person in the room, the most loyal, the most genuine, the most pure-hearted human being on the planet. But if you have no power, no influence, no weight when you speak, your goodness becomes forgettable. People respect results, not just intentions. I know that's hard to hear. We want to believe that being good is enough, that doing the right thing matters on its own, that integrity speaks for itself. But it doesn't. History is full of good people who got crushed because they had no power to protect their goodness. Because in the real world, goodness without influence is invisible. You can have the best ideas in the meeting, but if you don't know how to present them with confidence, someone else will steal them and get the promotion. You can be the most faithful friend, but if you don't command respect, people will betray you without a second thought. You can be the most loving partner, but if you don't have standards, you'll be taken for granted. This is where people get confused. They think power and goodness are opposites, that you have to choose between being kind and being strong. That's nonsense. The truth is simpler and harder. Goodness needs power to survive. Kindness needs strength to mean something. Your values need protection, or they become targets. And here's where it gets worse. When you're good without power, people don't just ignore you. They start testing you, pushing your boundaries, seeing how much they can get away with. Because life isn't fair, and life definitely doesn't reward the nicest person in the room. Life rewards the person who knows when to be nice and when to draw the line. The person who gives from a place of choice, not obligation. The person who helps because they want to, not because they're afraid to say no. The more good you are without boundaries, the more people test your limits. They show up late and expect you to wait. They cancel plans and expect you to understand. They ask for favors and disappear when you need help. And every single time you let it slide, you're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter, that your time doesn't matter, that you don't matter. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear. People use you because you never set boundaries. You trained them to expect everything and give nothing back. Listen that again. Let that sink in. You didn't mean to. You thought you were being kind. You thought you were being a good friend, a good partner, a good person. But what you actually did was teach people that they can walk all over you without consequences, that they can take and take and take, and you'll just smile and give more. And now you're confused why people don't appreciate you, why they don't respect you, why they keep hurting you. It's because you never showed them that hurting you has a cost. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Number 2, the cost of being too good. Let's go deeper. You can have the purest motives, the highest morals, the most beautiful intentions in the world. But if you appear weak, people will mock everything you stand for. Your ethics become a punchline. Your values become something people laugh about behind your back. This is brutal, but it's real. Think about the people you know who are constantly taken advantage of, the ones who complain about being mistreated but never do anything about it. The ones who keep giving chances to people who clearly don't deserve them. Do people respect their kindness? Do people admire their forgiveness? Do people look up to their moral high ground? Not. People think they're stupid. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's reality. Because here's what Machiavelli understood that most people refuse to accept. Perception matters more than intention. How you're seen matters more than how you feel. And weakness, no matter how moral, invites attack. History is full of good people who lost because they refused to understand power. Think about every revolution, every war, every political shift in human history. The side with better ethics didn't always win. The side willing to use force did. The side that understood power dynamics did. I'm not saying ethics don't matter. I'm saying ethics without power to back them up get crushed. You see this in relationships all the time. The person who keeps forgiving cheating. The person who keeps accepting disrespect. The person who keeps hoping their partner will change if they just love them enough. Are they being noble? Are they being patient? Are they being good? Maybe. But they're also being used, and everyone around them can see it, except them. Because life doesn't reward the nicest person. Life rewards the person who knows when to be nice and when to walk away. The person who can say, "I love you, but I love myself more. And I'm not staying in a situation that disrespects me." The person who can draw a line and mean it. The person who understands that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to participate in your own mistreatment. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. And here's the part that really stings. The more good you are without boundaries, the more people test your limits. They're not doing it to be evil. They're doing it because humans are wired to seek advantage, to push until they meet resistance, to take what's freely given. It's not personal, it's human nature. Your coworker keeps dumping their work on you because you keep accepting it. Your friend keeps canceling plans because you keep saying it's fine. Your family keeps disrespecting your time because you keep showing up no matter how they treat you. And every time you accept it, you're reinforcing the pattern. You're teaching them that this is okay, that you'll tolerate it, that there are no consequences, so they keep doing it, and they'll keep doing it until you stop them. But here's what makes this so difficult. Here's why so many good people stay trapped in this cycle. You convinced yourself that setting boundaries makes you the bad guy, that saying no makes you selfish, that protecting yourself makes you unkind. So you keep giving, you keep sacrificing, you keep hoping that eventually people will wake up and appreciate you. But they won't, because you taught them not to. Here's the uncomfortable truth that changes everything once you accept it. People use you because you never set boundaries. You trained them to expect everything and give nothing back. You showed them that your kindness has no limits, so they stopped respecting it. You showed them that your time has no value, so they stopped protecting it. You showed them that hurting you has no consequences, so they stopped caring. And now you're exhausted, burned out, resentful, wondering why you're always the one giving and never receiving. It's because you never demanded more. You never walked away. You never showed people that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Let that sink in. Access to you is a privilege. Your time is valuable. Your energy is precious. Your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. And until you start acting like that's true, people will keep treating you like it's not. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect my energy. Number 3, Machiavelli's lesson. Now let's talk about what Machiavelli actually understood. Morality is beautiful, ethics matter. I'm not here to tell you to become a bad person. I'm here to tell you that goodness without power dies quickly. Your values need protection. Your kindness needs boundaries. Your ethics need strength behind them, or they become targets for people who have none. Machiavelli wasn't teaching people to be evil. He was teaching them to survive in a world where evil exists. He was teaching them that good intentions don't matter if you're too weak to act on them. He said it 500 years ago, and it's still true today. If you don't understand human nature, people will make you their prey. He wasn't being cynical, he was being honest. Because here's what most people refuse to accept about human nature. People don't act how you wish they would. They act how their interests guide them. Your boss doesn't care about your hard work unless it benefits them. Your friends don't think about your needs unless you make them visible. Your partner doesn't respect your boundaries unless you enforce them. That doesn't make them evil. It makes them human. And if you go through life expecting people to be fair, to be considerate, to treat you well just because you treat them well, you're going to be disappointed over and over again. Not because people are bad, but because you're operating with the wrong assumptions. You think kindness creates kindness, that generosity creates generosity, that if you're good to people, they'll be good to you. Sometimes that's true, but often it's not. Often, your kindness just shows people what they can get away with. Your generosity shows them how much you'll give. Your goodness shows them you won't fight back. And then they take advantage, not because they're monsters, but because you made it easy. This is why Machiavelli talked so much about power. Not because power is good or bad, but because power is necessary. It's necessary to protect what you care about. It's necessary to enforce your boundaries. It's necessary to make sure your kindness comes from choice, not fear. And this brings us to one of the most important distinctions most people never understand. A powerful person can afford to be kind because they have nothing to fear. A weak person is kind because they have no other choice. Think about that. When you're kind from a position of strength, it's a gift. When you're kind from a position of weakness, it's survival. One earns respect, the other invites exploitation. When a CEO helps an employee, it's seen as generous. When a desperate employee helps a CEO, it's expected. When a strong person forgives, it's seen as noble. When a weak person forgives, it's seen as pathetic. Same action, different perception, because power changes everything. This is why Machiavelli said, "It's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both." Not because fear is good, but because fear creates boundaries. Fear makes people think twice before crossing you. Fear protects your kindness from being abused. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to be mean. But you do have to be someone people think twice about disrespecting. And that requires power. Not physical power, not money or status, but the power of self-respect. The power to walk away, the power to say no and mean it. That's the kind of power that protects your goodness. That's the kind of power that makes your kindness valuable. That's the kind of power that lets you be as generous as you want without becoming a target. Because here's the truth that most people miss. It's not about dominating others. It's about not being dominated. It's not about making people fear you. It's about making people respect you. And respect only comes when people know you won't tolerate disrespect. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose respect always. Number 4, the real meaning of power. So let's get clear on what power actually means. Power doesn't mean being cruel. It doesn't mean hurting people. It doesn't mean manipulating or controlling or dominating. Real power means having control over yourself, your choices, your boundaries. It means knowing when to give and when to say no. It means being someone who can walk away from anything that doesn't serve them. That's power, not the power to hurt others. The power to protect yourself, not the power to take. The power to refuse, not the power to control people. The power to control your own life. Let me break this down into something concrete. Real power is saying no without guilt. It's turning down that favor you don't want to do. It's declining that invitation you don't want to accept. It's refusing that request that crosses your boundaries, and doing it without apologizing, without over-explaining, without feeling like you owe anyone a justification for protecting your own time and energy. That's power. Real power is walking away from disrespect. It's ending that friendship that's one-sided. It's leaving that relationship that drains you. It's quitting that job that doesn't value you, even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when people try to guilt you into staying. That's power. Real power is choosing who deserves your energy. It's being selective about who gets access to you. It's understanding that not everyone deserves your time, your kindness, your attention, and being okay with that. Not everyone is your person. Not everyone deserves your best. Not everyone has earned the right to your generosity. That's power. See, most people think power looks like dominance, like being the loudest person in the room, like controlling others, like making people do what you want. But that's not power. That's insecurity dressed up as strength. Real power is quiet. It's calm. It's the ability to stay centered when everyone around you is losing their minds. It's the ability to hold your boundaries even when people push against them. It's the ability to be kind without being weak. Real power is the CEO who doesn't need to yell because everyone already respects them. It's the friend who doesn't have to prove their value because everyone already knows it. It's the person who can be generous without being taken advantage of because everyone knows there are limits. That's the kind of power we're talking about. That's the kind of power you need to develop. And here's why this matters so much. When you have power, real power, self-respect power, boundary-setting power, your kindness transforms. It stops being something people expect and starts being something people appreciate. It stops being a weakness they exploit and starts being a strength they admire. Because now your kindness comes with self-respect attached. Your generosity comes with boundaries attached. Your forgiveness comes with standards attached. You're not kind because you're afraid to be anything else. You're kind because you choose to be. And that choice makes all the difference. People can feel the difference. They can tell when someone is giving from abundance versus giving from fear. They can tell when someone is being nice because they want to versus nice because they have to. And they respond differently. When you're kind from a position of power, people value it. When you're kind from a position of weakness, people abuse it. Same kindness, different context, different outcome. This is what Machiavelli understood. This is what every powerful person throughout history has understood. This is what you need to understand if you want to stop being walked over. Goodness is not weakness, but goodness without boundaries is. Kindness is not naive, but kindness without self-respect is. Generosity is not foolish, but generosity without limits is. You can be all the good things you want to be, but you need to be strong enough to protect those good things. You need to be powerful enough to ensure your kindness isn't mistaken for weakness. You need to be respected enough that people think twice before crossing you. That's not about changing who you are. It's about protecting who you are. It's about making sure the world doesn't punish you for being good. Because right now, if you're honest with yourself, the world is punishing you for being good. People are using your kindness against you. Your generosity is being exploited. Your patience is being abused, and it's going to keep happening until you decide it stops. Until you decide that being good doesn't mean being a doormat, that being kind doesn't mean accepting disrespect, that being forgiving doesn't mean tolerating repeated betrayal. You can be all those beautiful things: kind, generous, forgiving, patient, understanding. But you need to be powerful too. You need to have boundaries too. You need to have standards too. Because kindness without strength isn't virtue, it's vulnerability. And in a world full of people who will absolutely take advantage of vulnerability, you can't afford to be that exposed. So here's what you need to understand. Here's what you need to take away from this entire conversation. Being good doesn't make you weak. Being kind doesn't make you a target. Being generous doesn't make you a fool. But being good without boundaries does. Being kind without self-respect does. Being generous without limits does. The world doesn't need more nice people who get walked over. The world doesn't need more good people who get used and thrown away. The world doesn't need more kind people who give until there's nothing left. The world needs strong people who choose kindness from a position of power, who give because they want to, not because they're afraid not to, who forgive because they're secure enough to let things go, not because they're too weak to demand better. That's the person you need to become. Not someone who stops being kind, someone who's kind on their own terms, not someone who stops caring, someone who cares about themselves as much as they care about others, not someone who stops giving, someone who gives to people who deserve it and walks away from people who don't. Stop giving your power away. Stop letting people treat your kindness like it's worthless. Stop accepting behavior you'd never tolerate from yourself. Start protecting what matters. Start enforcing your boundaries. Start being the kind of person who people respect, not just someone people use. Because kindness without strength isn't virtue, it's vulnerability, and you've been vulnerable long enough. It's time to be powerful. It's time to be respected. It's time to be someone who gives from choice, not obligation. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to be cruel. He was telling you to be smart, to understand how the world actually works, not how you wish it worked. To protect your goodness with strength, so it survives in a world that will absolutely try to destroy it. So ask yourself right now, are you being kind from power or from fear? Are you giving because you want to, or because you're afraid of what happens if you don't? Are people respecting your boundaries, or are you not setting any? The answer to those questions will tell you everything you need to know about where you are right now. And if you don't like the answer, you know what needs to change. Before you go, if this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to this channel, because we're going to keep having these real conversations that nobody else wants to have. Remember this, respect yourself first. Everything else follows. Your relationships will improve. Your career will improve. Your entire life will improve. Not because you became mean, but because you became strong. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself too. That's the shift. That's the change. That's what separates people who get walked over from people who get respected. So make the choice. Stop being the person who everyone uses. Start being the person who everyone respects. Stop giving your power away. Start protecting what matters. Because kindness without strength isn't virtue, it's vulnerability, and you deserve better than that. Drop your affirmation one more time. I am powerful and kind. Now go be that person. The world is waiting.